Alright, so welcome once again for a new English video, guys. We are going to see some contents that I consider that are quite important because then you are going to improve a little bit more your English skills. So the first skill or the first content we're going to see is about vocabulary skill. So notice here we are going to check about word families. Let's read the definition. Word families are groups of words that have a common stem. To extend your range of vocabulary, think about how a new word will be formed as a noun, as a verb, adjective, or an adverb when you first see it. Okay, guys, now I want you to pay attention here because we are going to check some words that are familiar in somehow. For example, we have a verb, a noun, an adjective, and an adverb. And the word that we're going to check as the first example is the verb to compare. Notice here in the verb to compare, we share the same stem. Compared, in the noun you say comparison, in the adjective then you say comparative, and finally the adverb is comparatively. Notice here how the common stem is almost in the same words. As a verb, compare. As a noun, comparison. As an adjective, comparative. As an adverb, comparatively. Being familiar with families can also improve your listening because you might recognize the family even if you don't recognize the word. Additionally, guys, let me say that this is quite important to note about word families because when you face a test or probably a TOEIC test or like a TOEFL test, we're going to face some tricky questions. But just to recognize the correct answer is by word families in some tricky questions, right? So let's see some other examples, guys. Pay attention. In this chart, in this chart we have noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. And as well, we have some nouns here that we're going to share the same stem using the same noun. For example, what I meant is, look at the first noun. We have the noun beauty. The word verb for beauty is beautified. The word adjective for that is beautiful. And the same happens with the word adverb. Notice here it is beautifully. Okay, and now the second example is benefit and beneficiary. They are both nouns. Then I wonder if you know what the word verb is for those nouns. Yeah, benefit as a noun, and then as a verb we say benefit. As an adjective, beneficial, and then as an adverb we say beneficially. The third one, creation and creator, as a noun. Then the word verb for that we say create. The word adjective for that verb you say creative, and the same happens with creatively as an adverb. Decision as a noun, decide as a verb, decisive as an adjective, and decisively as an adverb. Exactly. Then the next one is different. Difference as a noun, and then as a verb we say differentiate. Different as an adjective, and then as an adverb we say differently. The same happens with distractions. Distract, distracted. Distracting is an adjective, and then we have distractibly as an adverb. And then we have justify, justification as a noun, as a verb is justified, as an adjective is justifiable, and then as an adverb is justifiably. Protection, protect, protective, protectively. So you see here this example as a noun, as a verb, an adjective, and finally as an adverb. And finally, guys, we have the noun reliability. The word noun, or no, the word verb for reliability is relied. And then reliable is there. And do you know what is the word adverb for reliable? Reliably. Perfect. So now take a look at the next passage. We have word families excite, excitement, exciting, excited, excitedly. Now let's read the paragraph. Don't fill in the blank the children before bedtime, she said, but it was too late. They were already fill in the blank. They ran to meet their father, fill in the blank. Their father asked, "What's all of this, fill in the blank, about?" Flying for the first time is so, then you say one word family, above, and then you finish by they replied. Okay, would you like to help me and fill in the blank? Let's try it. The first one. Don't, don't excite the children before bedtime, she said, but it was too late. They were already excited. They ran to meet their father excitedly. Their father asked, "What's all of this excitement about?" Flying for the first time is so exciting, they replied. Okay, you see, imagine in a coming test, you can see something similar to this type of passage. Then let's keep going. This is the first exercise that I want you to practice. I need you to complete this chart by by placing, by placing the correct noun, the correct adjective, or either the correct adverb or verb. For example, in the first one, we have the verb nationalized, and the noun is nationed, and the adjective is national, and the adverb is nationally. So the same is going to be for the next exercise, number 2, and the same for the 3, 4, 5, and 6. I want you to complete the correct word families for each set. Okay, keep going. The next exercise is correct the 6 mistakes in the paragraph below. Okay, this is another practice that we are going to do it in this video. So let's read and fix the problems here. The grammatical problems. I realization, it says, that Liu knows all about cars. He told me that Japan and the United States are large car manufacturing countries. Also, Japan is a national that exports a lot of cars. He also said that some people think the first car originated in Germany. Liu is very perception because he figured out that Brazil will one day be a big influence in the automotive industry. I asked him about how much fuel cars use. He, he said it is not simplicity to determine how much fuel cars use every year. One thing is certain, though demand for cars is general very high. Alright students, I need you to give me a hand here because we are going to find 6 mistakes. Did you find the first one? Right. The first one is realization, which is a noun, but we need a verb there. So we said, I realized that Liu knows a lot about cars. He told me that Japan and the United States are large car manufacturing countries. Okay, so far so good. Also, Japan is a national that exports a lot of cars. What happened in that sentence actually? We have the second mistake. Did you find it? Right? It's national. So we need there another verb, another word. Read once again. Also, Japan is a nation that exports a lot of cars. Alright, keep going. He also said that some people think the first car originated in Germany. Do you think that it makes sense? Where is the problem? Did you find where the mistake is? Exactly, it's the word origin. In that case, we eliminate that. We are going to remove origin by the word or by the verb, in this case, originated in the past. He also said that some people think that first car originated in Germany. Alright, so beautiful. Liu is very perception because he figured out, perception? Actually, we need an adjective there. So we say Liu is very perceptive because he figured out that Brazil will one day be a big influence in the automotive industry. I asked him about how much fuel cars use. And then he said, it is not simplicity to determine. Simplicity is not correct. We need another adjective there, and then we said, he said it is not simple to determine how much fuel cars use every year. One thing is certain, though demand for cars is generally very high. So far we have realization, the first mistake, national, the second mistake, origin, the third mistake, perception, the fourth mistake, and the fifth mistake is simplicity. And I wonder if you find the, the sixth mistake. You found it, didn't you? Right, it's general. Demand for cars is generally very high. Instead of general, we need another generally very high. Okay, we're done. Well done, guys. All right, keep going. The next part, guys, we are going to check another interesting thing about grammar. What I'm talking about is how to make contrast. Contrasting is very important in English because you are going to learn how to make comparisons, how to use superlative forms, and how to sometimes you can emphasize some sentences. As you know, comparative form is when you compare two items, and the superlative way is when you mention or you express the highest degree of certain qualities. Okay, now let's see some examples. Making contrasts. As you know, guys, less and fewer are comparatives, and these two words are the opposite word for the word more. As you know, fewer is used with count nouns, and less is used with non-count nouns. Now, the same happens in the superlative form. Then you say least and fewest are superlatives. Okay, and they are the opposite of the most. Okay, but then to emphasize a comparison or contrast, you can use the words with far, a lot, or much. Let's read. We have the foreign and as well its example. Comparatives. Fewer plus count noun and less plus non-count noun. Now I want you to read the example. Now with count noun. There are fewer electric cars than gasoline-powered cars. Notice here we say there are fewer electric cars. Countable noun, fewer goes with countable noun. On the other words, we have there is less production in Japan than in China. You see here less goes with non-count nouns. Production is a count noun. And then we have superlatives. The fewest plus count noun and the least plus non-count noun. Now let's read the example. I wonder which company has the fewest electric cars in production. The fewest electric cars in production. Alright, superlative form using the fewest plus count noun, which is cars, electric cars. And then hybrid cars use the least gasoline. You see here the least gasoline is working here correctly because you use the least superlative form for non-count noun, that is gasoline. Now, what about emphasize? For example, my sentence says, there are cars sold in winter. But if you want to emphasize that, then you say, there are far fewer cars sold in winter. Once again, there are far fewer cars sold in winter. Alright, so notice here the formula. You can use a lot, much, far plus fewer plus count noun. On the other hand, you have a lot, much, far, plus, notice we say less. Why? Because you're going to use with non-count nouns. Let's read the example. A lot less money is spent on motorcycles than in the past. There you are emphasizing because these sentences are correctly and grammatically acceptable. There are far fewer cars sold in winter as well. A lot less money is spent on motorcycles than in the past. Okay, it can be kind of complicated, but I know by practicing and practicing you're going to acquire better skills about grammar. Now let's practice a little bit more. This is going to become the second example, the second exercise. Complete these sentences using less, fewer, least, and fewest. For example, you have 7 sentences right here, and you're going to decide which sentence or which word you're going to put. For example, number 1, you will find fill in the blank automobile manufacturers in Germany than in the United States. So for example, in that one, you can fill in the blank by using you will find you will find less automobile manufacturers in Germany than in the United States. And so on, you're going to read the sentences and then you will decide which word is better, which word matches better. Okay, so you have 7 sentences to practice about that. And finally, this is going to be the third exercise that you're going to include in a PDF document. Remember, please remember the first exercise is about word families. Word families. The first chart you're going to complete, and then you're going to make this exercise in a Word document, but then make this in a PDF form. The first one is word families, and this is going to be the second one. Complete the sentence with less, fewer, least, and fewest. And the third exercise is this. Okay, make sentences comparing the following using less or fewer, including a lot, much, or far where appropriate. For instance, you say cars in your city, and then motorbikes in your city. So if you want to compare those items, you say there are far fewer motorbikes than cars in my city. This is an example. But then number 2, 3, and 4 are going to be yours. Okay, if you want to practice about word families, make the exercise 1. And if you want to practice about making contrast, I want you to complete the exercise 2 and the exercise 3. Exercise 2 is right there in the red words, and the exercise 3 is the black words. Okay, nice. And now guys, I would like to talk about the homework assignments that I have for this coming week. This is going to be the first one. I need you to work in groups of 4 or groups of 5 students. And I need you to go over the items or the aspects we have in the yellow chart. For example, clothing, pharmaceuticals, we have retail, food and drink, oil, and we have technology. Okay, I need you to investigate a little bit about one of these terms, and in your conversation you are going to talk about that by using contrast or by comparing. Okay, now your example, your conversation is going to be like this example. Very simple. Notice here the example in the conversation we have. We can talk about food and drink. Do you want to compare it and contrast to restaurants? Oh, that sounds good. What companies should we talk about? How about Big Burger and Chicken Hut? They are similar because they are both fast food, also they are both big. However, they are famous for different products. I think Chicken Hut isn't as strong as Big Burger. And then, I am not sure what you mean. Can you explain it to me? Sure, I think Chicken Hut makes less money than Big Burger. Big Burger. Why do you think people like them? I think people like them both because they are expensive. Okay, this is an example that you can take into consideration at the moment that you start your conversation. Okay, so imagine you are going to talk about technology, then you can compare or contrast some items about technology. If you're going to talk about clothing, then the same. I want to include in your conversation as to make your conversation as natural as you can, so you can make your conversation very elegant, be very creative, guys. Okay, for this I recommend using the Zoom platform. for you to have the virtual conversation. Okay, simultaneously, you are going to participate. And please activate your webcam. I need you to, at the moment that you are going to start recording your conversation, activate, turn on your camera. Please. Alright, so if you got any questions about this exercise or this homework, it's going to be number one. And you can consult by texting me or by asking me by the platform. Texting me by WhatsApp or by the platform. I'm gonna be aware about that.